Good morning. It is 10:06 a.m. on Thursday, December 28th, 2017. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I have been up long enough to watch one episode of The Great British Baking Show on Netflix. This is 5 more minutes. I started that episode just to have something on while I did Luna's morning physical therapy, and then ended up watching the whole episode. Um, uh, that is part of what I was going to talk about today. Is more about the Great British Baking Show. But let me briefly just update that Luna's moving her hind legs a lot more. She's making a lot of improvement. Not only can she can definitely stand, needs a little bit of help with balance still, but it's a lot of progress. And I've even seen her take a few steps. She mostly right now kind of tries to get around sort of by, it's almost like a crawling motion, but occasionally she'll kind of get up on her 2 feet and take a few steps before sort of tumbling again. Um, she's, having a hard time getting around as well as she would like to be, but it's so much improved over, where we were a week ago. And that feels good. We're still working on the needing to pee thing, especially at bedtime. That seems like that's a problem time for her for whatever reason. But we're getting there. We're making big strides, so to speak. For my little dog with her short legs. Yes. So that's good. I'm 3 episodes in now to season 1 of the Great British Baking Show on Netflix. And although it describes it as season 1, they do talk about like this year on the Great British Baking Show. So I don't really know in terms of like the broader thing of it, but it's interesting, this show, because it's obviously a competition show where they're going to eliminate one person each week. Um, and I'm a big fan of Survivor, so I'm not unfamiliar with the concept. But this show is just so kind and gentle and sweet, that it puts me in a completely different frame of mind. Like even something like Iron Chef, everything is so heightened, right? Like it feels kind of crazy. But this show is just so calm and sweet and everything. But what that ends up doing is when someone's bake isn't going well, and it looks like they might be eliminated, it makes me so anxious for them. It's like, oh. And what occurred to me actually was this idea, like, what if they had a show like this where no one gets eliminated? It's just like if they further embraced the idea that, hey, we're all learning. So like, oh, this one didn't go so well this week, so let's talk a little bit about learning, like, how could this be improved? Like, oh, well, we had a little bit of rawness in the center, but maybe what we could have done is, if you had not wrapped it so tightly in the middle, it, would have had more room to expand, and so that's how you would improve it. And just the idea, I think part of what's got me thinking that is just the idea that I've been doing more cooking, with having the Blue Apron meals, and I've been enjoying that process. But it's this endless learning curve, right? Where you're constantly learning how little tips and tricks for how to improve. And I don't know, it just occurred to me like, well, what if that was the focus? But then on the other hand, I mean, this show, the whole idea is that, thousands of people applied, and they're picking people who, in theory, already know what they're doing, right? Um, so, and I think it just puts so much pressure on this idea that, this one has to be amazing. Um, and I guess maybe I'm just not there in my own cooking, where I feel like I could it's the pressure gets to me. That said, I have watched 3 of them now and feel like I'm going to watch more. So, I guess I'm able to, the drama that emotion creates in me is also exciting in its own way. But I definitely feel bad for the people who didn't do as well. Um, yeah, so I think Also, that might fade a little bit as we get further in to the season, meaning we have people who maybe they have to be eliminated this week, but we know they've done good stuff, and it's not as much of a feeling of like, oh, you're just no good, that sort of thing. I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, it's a very calming show. It's very happy, and they make good tasting stuff. It makes me hungry. So, yep, liking that. And it goes well with how I've been playing a whole bunch of Stardew Valley, which I mentioned, I think, previously a couple days ago. Anyway, so I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.